I wasn't looking for anyone. Isn't that how all the great love stories start? I had just moved to Seattle, trying to outrun a string of forgettable nights and conversations that never felt like anything more than background noise. The city was cold, gray, moody, kind of like I was back then. But even in all that rain, there was this one morning, bright, golden. Like the world had finally decided to crack open and give me a glimpse of something better. That was the morning I met Emily Carson. I still remember the way her hair glowed in that strange Pacific Northwest sunlight. She was sitting by the water, sketchbook in her lap, headphones in. I wasn't trying to talk to anyone that day. But something about her made the silence unbearable. You always draw strangers or just lost souls like me. She looked up, startled, smiled like I was an answer to a question she hadn't asked yet. Only the ones brave enough to interrupt me. Her voice was calm, easy, like she knew something about the world that the rest of us hadn't figured out yet. We got coffee that afternoon. And again the next day. And again the day after that. Before I knew it, Emily was everywhere. She moved like music. She loved thunderstorms. She read old books like they were holy. And she had this belief, this stubborn, beautiful belief, that every person you meet is a mirror. That they show you who you really are, whether you like it or not. She showed me that I was still capable of loving someone so deeply it hurt. We'd stay up till 3 a.m. just talking. About nothing. About everything. We danced in our tiny kitchen to vinyl records, even when the coffee table was in the way. She'd wear my hoodie, make pancakes with too much vanilla, and laugh when I burned them. I'd catch her staring at me sometimes, like she was memorizing me for later. I asked her once why she looked at me like that. She said, because I don't want to forget this. This, us, felt like it could bend time. Like the world got quieter when we were together. One night, we drove out past the city. Just fields and stars and our own little universe in the front seat of my car. I think I love you, I told her, heart racing. She looked at me. Not surprised. Just sure. Then we're already in trouble. That was Emily. Always poetic. Always half in love with tragedy. But I didn't care. I was all in. We were fire and gravity, drawn to each other, even when it made no sense. I asked her to move in with me 6 weeks after we met. She said yes without blinking. Every day felt like art. Some quiet masterpiece we were building together. The way she'd wrap her arms around me while I made coffee. How she painted stars on the ceiling of our bedroom and told me, so you'll never forget we're part of something bigger. We were in love, like people in stories. The kind of love that makes everything before it look like practice. Looking back now, I think we both knew it couldn't last forever. But back then, it felt like it could. And that was enough. I noticed it in the little things first. She started forgetting where she left her keys. Called our neighbor Nina, when her name was Claire. Laughed it off, said her head was just in the clouds again. That was normal for Emily. She always had 1,000 thoughts running through her at once. But then there were moments when she looked at me and her eyes shifted. Like she didn't know me for half a second. Like she was somewhere else entirely. And then she'd come back. Smile. Try to cover it up. At first, I told myself it was stress. She'd been working on a new art series, pouring her soul into it. Staying up too late, skipping meals. I made her tea, held her while she slept. She always felt cold. I thought maybe I wasn't holding her tight enough. Then one morning, I found her sitting in the bathtub with her clothes still on. She looked up at me, eyes wide and trembling. I didn't know where else to go. That was when I knew something was wrong. Doctors. Tests. More doctors. Weeks of waiting rooms and white walls. Emily held my hand through all of it. She joked with the nurses. Smiled even when the words started getting harder for her to find. Then the results came. I'll never forget the way the neurologist's voice dropped when he said it. Early-onset Alzheimer's. She was 28. The world cracked. I wanted to scream. Break something. Anything. But Emily sat there quiet. Listening. Nodding. The only time she flinched was when they said the words progressive and no cure. I couldn't breathe. That night, we lay on the floor of our apartment, the stars she painted above us like paper lies. I don't want to disappear in front of you, she whispered. You won't, I said, kissing her hand. You couldn't. But I was lying. And she knew it. The days blurred after that. Sometimes she was still her. Laughing, painting, telling me to stop worrying so much. Other times, she'd stand in the hallway, lost in her own home. Call me by her father's name. Cry when she couldn't remember how to hold a paintbrush. I watched her fade, bit by bit. Like a photo left out in the sun. There was one night, I found her outside in the pouring rain. Barefoot. Staring up at the sky like it could give her back the pieces she was losing. I ran to her, wrapped her in my coat. She looked at me with a kind of desperation I'd never seen before. It's slipping away, Jack. I can feel it. Like I'm sinking. I held her so tight I thought I might break her. I won't let you drown. But love wasn't enough to hold her in place. One morning, she didn't recognize me. Not even a flicker. She screamed when I touched her, begged me to let her go. Thought I was someone trying to hurt her. I slept in my car that night. Sat in the dark, holding her sweater like a lifeline, shaking. Praying to a God I hadn't spoken to in years. Then, something changed. A week later, Emily stopped painting. She didn't speak much. Just stared out the window for hours, like she was waiting for something, or someone, to come take her away. I couldn't take it. Watching the woman I loved vanish right in front of me. Then came the turning point. One night, I woke up to find our front door wide open. The cold air pouring in. And she was gone. I ran. Through the streets. Through the park. Screaming her name. I found her at the dock. The same one where we first met. She was barefoot. Pale. Shivering. Staring at the water like it was calling her. When I reached her, she looked at me, really looked, and whispered, I remember you. My heart shattered. She touched my face. You're the boy who loved me. I pulled her into my arms and broke. I cried so hard I thought I'd never stop. Because I knew what was coming. And I couldn't stop it. I stopped recognizing myself around the same time Emily stopped recognizing the world. My reflection in the bathroom mirror looked thinner, hollowed out. Dark circles carved permanent homes under my eyes. I moved through days like a ghost haunting his own life. I still went to work. Still answered emails. Still nodded when people spoke to me. But inside, everything was quiet in the worst way, like something essential had gone missing. Emily slept more now. Sometimes 18 hours at a time. Other times she didn't sleep at all, pacing the apartment at night, whispering fragments of sentences that never quite formed. I learned to wake up at the smallest sound. The creak of the floor. The soft click of a door. Fear became my alarm clock. I taped notes everywhere. You are safe. This is our home. Jack loves you. Some days she smiled when she read them. Other days she ripped them down, furious, convinced someone was lying to her. I became smaller to make room for her illness. Gave up friends. Ignored calls. Stopped answering messages that said things like let me know if you need anything. People don't realize how useless that sentence feels when you're drowning. I needed everything. And nothing could fix this. But I didn't leave. Even when she screamed at me. Even when she begged me to go. Even when she looked at me like I was a stranger wearing my face. I stayed. There was a night when she sat on the floor, back against the couch, pulling at her hair like she could yank the memories back into place. I knelt in front of her, took her hands. "Emily, look at me. Please." Her eyes flickered. Confused. Afraid. "Who am I?" she whispered. The question broke something open inside me. I'm the man who loves you," I said. My voice cracked, but I kept going. "I'm the one who dances with you in the kitchen. I'm the one who knows you hate cilantro and love thunderstorms. I'm the one who will stay. No matter what." She studied my face like it was a puzzle missing pieces. Then she started crying. Deep, gasping sobs. "I don't want to forget you." I held her while she fell apart. While I did too. After that, something hardened in me. I stopped hoping for miracles. Stopped waiting for doctors to save us. Instead, I started fighting in the only way I knew how, by learning. Reading medical journals at 2 a.m., joining forums. Talking to researchers. Looking for anything that didn't end with inevitable decline. I was exhausted. Angry. Terrified. But I refused to surrender. Love does strange things to a man. It strips him down to the bone. Shows him what he's made of when comfort is gone. I was becoming someone else, someone quieter, sharper, more desperate. A shadow, yes, but a shadow that still moved toward the light. One evening, while Emily slept, I found her old sketchbook hidden under the bed. Pages filled with drawings of us. Of me. Notes scribbled in the margins. "If I forget, remind me. If I disappear, look for me. There is more to this." My heart started racing. On the last page, written in shaky handwriting, were words that didn't make sense at first. They said it was an illness. But they're wrong. I sat there in the dark, the book trembling in my hands. For the first time in months, fear wasn't the loudest thing in my chest. Suspicion was. And I knew deep in my gut that Emily hadn't just been fading. Something had taken her. Once doubt takes root, it doesn't let go. Emily's sketchbook became my confession booth. I read it over and over, tracing her handwriting like it might lead me back to her mind. Those last words, they said it was an illness. But they're wrong, kept echoing, louder than any diagnosis. I started digging. At night, while Emily slept under the soft hum of the heater, I searched her laptop. Old emails. Deleted drafts. Cloud folders she'd forgotten existed. Most of it was art. Photos. Half-written thoughts. But buried deep was a string of messages between Emily and a private research clinic in California. The subject line made my stomach turn. Cognitive Mapping Trial, Phase 2. I had never heard of it. Emily had never mentioned it. The emails were clinical, cold. Promises wrapped in professional language. Non-invasive. Reversible. Early intervention. She'd signed up months before we met, back when she was struggling, searching for meaning, for answers about her own mind. One line froze me in place. Side effects may include memory fragmentation, identity dissociation, and emotional detachment. I felt sick. The clinic's name kept coming up, Brightwell Neurodynamics. Their website was polished. Smiling faces. Words like innovation and hope. But when I dug deeper, forums, complaints, legal filings, I found stories they didn't advertise. People who said they lost time. Lost memories. Lost pieces of themselves. And people who said they were told it was just stress when things went wrong. I contacted them. Over and over. Emails ignored. Calls redirected. Eventually, a lawyer responded with a carefully worded statement blaming pre-existing conditions. I snapped. I took a week off work and drove south. 12 hours on the road, my thoughts racing faster than the car. I left Emily with a nurse I barely trusted, kissed her forehead while she slept. "I'm coming back," I whispered. "I promise." Brightwell's building looked harmless. Glass walls. Palm trees. Sunshine. I walked in pretending to be a concerned family member. They didn't recognize her name at first. Then a pause. Too long. They asked me to leave. That was my answer. I waited until nightfall. Found a former employee through a message board, a woman named Dr. Hannah Lewis who'd been quietly fired 2 years earlier. We met in a diner off the highway, the kind with cracked vinyl seats and bad coffee. "They pushed too fast," she said, voice shaking. "They mapped memories before stabilizing the neural pathways. People weren't ready." "Emily?" I asked. She nodded. "I remember her. She was bright. Too curious for her own good." "What did you do to her?" Her eyes filled with tears. "What they told us to. That was enough. I recorded everything. Her testimony. Documents she'd saved. Proof of altered reports. Suppressed side effects. I sent copies to journalists, advocacy groups, anyone who would listen. Then I confronted Brightwell again, this time with evidence. The threat of exposure works miracles. Within days, lawyers were calling me. Apologies replaced silence. They admitted fault without using the word guilt. Offered access to experimental reversal protocols they'd hidden away. I didn't trust them. But I had no choice. Emily was deteriorating faster now. Her words slipping. Her eyes dulling. Time was a blade at my throat. We flew to California together. She was quiet on the plane, staring out the window. "Jack," she asked suddenly. "Yes?" "If I disappear, did I love you?" I swallowed hard. "You still do." The treatment wasn't a cure. They were honest about that for once. But it could stabilize her. Slow the damage. Maybe bring some things back. I signed papers with shaking hands. As they wheeled her away, she reached for me. "Don't let them erase me." "I won't," I said. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something close to justice. Not revenge. Responsibility. Because love doesn't just hold on. Sometimes it fights back. The man who flew back from California wasn't the same one who had driven there. I could feel it in my bones. In the way my shoulders stayed tense even when nothing was happening. In how my thoughts moved differently, more guarded, more deliberate. Love had burned away the version of me that believed good intentions were enough. Emily's treatment stabilized her condition, just like they promised. No more sudden spirals. No more nights of panic so intense she couldn't remember how to breathe. But it didn't give her everything back. It gave her pieces. Some mornings she woke up knowing my name. Other mornings she called me you and smiled apologetically. She remembered how to paint before she remembered our anniversary. She remembered the ocean but not the first time I told her I loved her. And I learned not to correct her. I learned that insisting on the past could hurt more than losing it. I quit my job. Sold the car. Moved us to a smaller place near the water, somewhere quiet, predictable. My life narrowed until it revolved around medication schedules, therapy appointments, and the subtle art of reading her moods. Friends stopped asking how I was doing. I stopped answering honestly anyway. I became patient in ways I didn't know were possible. And ruthless in ways that surprised me. Brightwell neurodynamics settled quietly. Non-disclosure agreements. Financial compensation. Public statements that said just enough to sound responsible without admitting guilt. I used the money to build a future that didn't depend on anyone else's mercy. I took online courses. Learned how to advocate, how to read medical language like a second tongue. I started speaking to other families, people whose loved ones had been early cases, anomalies, acceptable losses. They called me strong. I didn't feel strong. I felt altered. Emily noticed the change before I did. One afternoon, we sat on the beach wrapped in blankets, the wind tugging at her hair. She studied me for a long time. "You're different," she said. "Different how?" "Harder," she said softly. "But safer." The word landed heavy. That night, she had a moment of clarity, one of the rare ones. She held my face like she was afraid I might vanish. "This is costing you," she said. "I can see it." "I don't care." She shook her head. "You should." That was the truth I didn't want to face. Loving her like this meant giving up parts of myself I might never get back. Spontaneity. Ease. The ability to imagine a future without contingency plans. I was becoming someone built for survival, not dreams. And yet, when she laughed, really laughed, it still felt like oxygen. I learned to find meaning in smaller victories. A full conversation. A shared memory that resurfaced unexpectedly. The way she still reached for my hand in her sleep. But there was a cost. I carried guilt for the anger I felt toward the world. For the moments I wished, just for a second, that this wasn't my life. That love hadn't asked so much of me. And then I'd hate myself for thinking it. Love didn't just change me. It reshaped my moral compass. Taught me that doing the right thing doesn't always feel noble. Sometimes it feels lonely. Sometimes it feels like loss. I wasn't the man who fell in love by the water anymore. I was the man who stayed. And I knew the final lesson was coming. Because love never takes without giving pain in return. The last time Emily said, "I love you," it was snowing. Not the kind of snow that sticks, just light flurries brushing the windows, like the sky was trying to be gentle with us. She was sitting by the window in a sweater that hung too loose on her shoulders, sketchbook in her lap. Most days she didn't draw any more. But that morning, she had asked for a pencil. I watched her for hours, afraid to move. Afraid that if I did, the moment would pass. She didn't say much. Just held my gaze, like she was trying to memorize me again. "I love you," she said. Clear. Steady. Like the old Emily. I opened my mouth but nothing came out. So I just knelt beside her and pressed my forehead to hers, like that could make time stop. Because I knew. The doctors had been kind but honest. The treatment worked for a while. But eventually the decline would continue. Slower. Quieter. But still inevitable. I started writing down our story. Every memory. Every word. I printed photos, labeled them, stuck them on the wall. I recorded her voice saying the things I couldn't bear to forget. I knew she might forget me completely one day. But I refused to forget her. Some days were still beautiful. Soft, slow, full of sunlight and songs she used to love. She'd hum along to Fleetwood Mac or ask me to dance in the living room. And for those few minutes, we were just Jack and Emily again, young, stupid, invincible. Other days, she didn't get out of bed. Didn't know her name. Would cry without understanding why. I stopped fighting those days. Started holding space for them. Because pain wasn't a sign we were losing. It was a sign we were still feeling. Still loving. I've learned that love doesn't always look like flowers and promises. Sometimes it's cleaning the same mess 3 times a day. Sometimes it's holding her while she forgets your face. Sometimes it's whispering, "You're safe. I'm here," over and over until it becomes a lullaby. One night, I asked her, "Do you ever wish we hadn't met? That maybe your life would have been easier?" She looked at me, eyes tired but full of something ancient and soft. No, she said. Harder, maybe. But not better. It broke me in the best way. That's when I understood. Love and pain aren't opposites. They're twins. You don't get one without the other. You shouldn't. Because if it doesn't hurt to lose, it was never real to begin with. Emily is still here. In some ways. And in others, she's already gone. But I stay. I stay because I promised her I would. I stay because even if she forgets me, I will never forget her. I stay because love made me someone who can stay. And if that means walking beside her through the dark, even when she no longer knows my name, then that's where I'll be. Every day. Until the very end. If you're listening to this, hold your people closer. Say the words now. Because love isn't forever. But the way you love someone, that's what echoes. Even when memory fades. Even when pain comes. Love stays. Always. Subscribe, like, and tell people about this love.